She was told women didn't build cities. So she built one anyway, San Francisco, 1872. The world Julia Morgan was born into had rules, clear, rigid, and unapologetic. Women could teach, they could nurse. They could decorate. But designing buildings, engineering cities? That was men's work. Julia Morgan never bothered arguing with those rules. She simply ignored them. At 18, she enrolled at the University of California, Berkeley to study civil engineering. She was usually the only woman in lecture halls filled with skeptical men who assumed she wouldn't last. She didn't just last, she graduated in 1894 as the only woman in her engineering class. Her mentor looked at her work and told her to aim higher, much higher. Applied to the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris, the most prestigious architecture school in the world. There was just one problem. They had never admitted a woman. Not once. Julia went anyway. In 1897, after sustained pressure from French women artists, the school finally allowed women to sit for the entrance exam. Julia took it. She failed, placing 42nd out of 376 applicants. Only the top 30 were accepted. She tried again 6 months later. She failed again. Many historians believe her scores were deliberately lowered because she was a woman. The message was clear: you're not wanted here. Julia took the exam a third time. This time, she placed 13th out of 392 applicants. The school could no longer pretend she didn't belong. She became the first woman ever admitted to study architecture at the École des Beaux-Arts. But there was another obstacle. Students had to graduate before turning 30. Julia was already 25. She had less than 5 years to complete a program that often took far longer. She worked relentlessly. No drama. No complaints, just discipline. In February 1902, 1 month before her 30th birthday, she earned her certificate. The first woman in history to graduate in architecture from the École des Beaux-Arts. Back in California, she joined an architectural firm. Her boss praised her brilliance to colleagues, then openly remarked that he could pay her almost nothing, as it is a woman. Julia heard him. She saved her money. She planned quietly, and she left. In 1904, she became the first woman licensed as an architect in California, opening her own office in San Francisco. 2 years later, on April 18, 1906, the city was torn apart by a massive earthquake. Fires raged for days. Over 3,000 people died. Nearly 80% of San Francisco was destroyed. But across the bay at Mills College in Oakland, something extraordinary stood untouched: a 72-foot bell tower Julia Morgan had designed using reinforced concrete, still a relatively new technique. While buildings all around it collapsed, hers didn't move. Word spread fast. Clients flooded her office. She rebuilt the Fairmont Hotel in under a year. She designed more than 30 YWCA buildings across multiple states, creating safe, dignified spaces for women when few existed. She took on the most ambitious project of her career, Hearst Castle, a 165-room estate she would oversee personally for 28 years. Churches, homes, hospitals, universities. By the time she retired in 1951, Julia Morgan had designed more than 700 buildings, many of them still standing, still admired, still used. She died in 1957 at age 85. And for decades, the world barely remembered her. Then, in 1988, a biography brought her work back into public view. Architects and historians began to understand the scale of what she had done. And in 2014, 57 years after her death, the American Institute of Architects awarded Julia Morgan the AIA Gold Medal, its highest honor. She was the first woman ever to receive it. Julia Morgan didn't fight the world with speeches or slogans. She fought it with buildings. She was underpaid, underestimated. And the quietest revenge of all? Everything she built is still standing.